Hello friends, this is your friend back with a new fanfic. What if Sakura died and Naruto awakened his true power? Part 1. A tragic loss, a shattered heart, and a power born from grief. If you like this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Now, let's start. Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Sakura died and Naruto awakened his true power in Harem with Naruto x Hinata, Ino, Tenten, Konan and Ryuuzetsu. Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. They had done it. Naruto couldn't help the smile that spread across his face as this realization hit him. They had defeated Kaguya, Madara, and Obito and saved the world. Infinite Tsukuyomi could be stopped, and everything could go back to normal. I can't believe we did it. Naruto thought as he looked at Sakura, Sasuke, and Kakashi. All of them were exhausted after the non-stop fighting they had endured. You really pulled through on this one kid, Kurama's yin half said with a small grin gracing his face. Naruto did a full 360 looking at all the Biju that were standing around them. Seeing the beast he was looking for, Naruto's face lit up. Oi, Kurama! Naruto yelled to the Kyuubi who was now towering over him. I missed you man, did you miss me too? Naruto yelled waving to the demon fox, who he had recently befriended. Shut up you baka, I didn't miss you at all. Besides my yin half is still sealed inside you. Kurama yelled in mock anger as he flipped Naruto off. Ah come on, I know you love me. Naruto said holding out his fist for Kurama to bump. Reluctantly Kurama extended his massive paw and bumped fists with Naruto, causing a massive grin to form on both their faces. To think a shinobi could come along and befriend the Biju, and have them offer him assistance. Truly remarkable. The Sage of Six Paths said as he watched Naruto with a small smile on his face. Obito too. Naruto was the one to save Obito, and drag him out of the darkness. Kakashi said as he looked at his student talking with the tailed beasts, as if they were long-lost friends. Then when I see Obito I'll have to have him tell me all about it. The sage said. Suddenly Kakashi started to collapse, but he was quickly caught by Sakura. Sensei, are you alright? Sakura said worried that Kakashi was hurt. I'm fine Sakura, I'm just exhausted. Kakashi said as Sakura helped him stand up. Just then Naruto walked up to the group, just as the reanimated Hokage were getting ready to return to their proper place in the afterlife. Naruto walked up his father and they exchanged heartfelt goodbyes, causing both of them to tears. Naruto wished he could have more time with his father, but he knew he didn't belong in this world. But it still broke his heart to see his father slowly fade away, until there was nothing left. Farewell Dad, I love you and Mom so much. Naruto said as he rubbed the tears from his eyes. Sakura and Kakashi were both saddened to see Naruto have to say goodbye to his father. Sasuke just looked on with an emotionless mask. Naruto turned to all the Biju, who were discussing what they planned to do now that they were free. The Sage of Six Paths explained that since Naruto had all their chakra in him, that he was a sort of meeting place for them. That if they ever wanted to talk, they could do it through him. So how do we undo the infinite Tsukuyomi? Do you need our chakra? Kurama said asking the question that was on everyone's mind. No, all we need is Naruto, since he has all your chakra in him, and Sasuke's Rinnegan. The sage explained, but an uneasy feeling washed over him as he looked at Sasuke. Now what about you Sasuke? The sage asked narrowing his eyes. Sasuke paused for a moment before he answered. Let me think about it, Sasuke said as he lowered his head and his eyes darkened. But first, I'm going to kill all the Kage. This shocked everyone, but Hagoromo, who had a sneaking suspicion about Sasuke ever since the battle ended. What did you say Sasuke? Kakashi asked shocked by his former student's words. Also, Biju, Sasuke said his Rinnegan blazing. You are under my control, and I will destroy you as well. You bastard! Kurama yelled as he tried to take a swipe at Sasuke. But he was stopped, when he and all the other Biju were placed under Sasuke's trance. He put the tailed beasts in a trance, from just one glance, Hagoromo said in shock. Naruto, I leave this to you, you're the only one who can stop this. You're right Hagoromo, but I won't end up like your kids. I'm not Ashura, and Sasuke isn't Indra. Naruto said as he stared Sasuke down. Sasuke, are you still hung up on revenge? Kakashi asked, wanting to dissuade his student. A while ago, yes, it was for revenge and destruction. But now I want to destroy and rebuild upon the ashes. I want a revolution. Sasuke said with the most menacing face he could muster. A revolution? Kakashi said, confused. It's the current Kage, who have made the world the way it is today. That's why I'm gonna become Hokage and change everything. Sasuke said as he turned his back to everyone. Chikbaku Tensai, Sasuke said, forming a hand seal. Suddenly the ground started to shake. As the tailed beasts were lifted into the air and encased in large spheres created from the earth. Now that the Biju are taken care of, the only obstacle left is Naruto. Sasuke says just as Naruto lands in front of him. Naruto takes a deep breath and looks Sasuke right in the eyes. This shit between us ends right now, Sasuke. Naruto says calmly, his eyes full of determination. Just let the Biju go. I know them now and they won't do anything evil, Sasuke. Naruto said, trying to persuade his friend. You don't get it, Naruto. You've got a little of all the Biju's chakra in you, and I must destroy all of it. Sasuke said, continuing their stare down. Once I kill you, I'll use the captured tailed beast's chakra to undo this genjutsu. There's no way in hell I'm gonna let you do that. Naruto said, getting angry. Fine, I'll just kill you first then, Naruto. Let's head somewhere else. With that, Sasuke turns to leave. But Sasuke was stopped when he heard Sakura call out. I know there's nothing I can really do to stop this, but I did love you, Sasuke, Sakura said as she supported the exhausted Kakashi. But I never thought you'd turn out like this. Please, Sasuke, we're all finally reunited, don't do this. Sasuke turned his head to look at Sakura, and he had an evil smirk on his face. You're so annoying, I'll shut you up for good. Sasuke said, and with amazing speed he was in front of Sakura. His arm extended and crackling with electricity, as it pierced Sakura's heart. Sakura's eyes widened as she coughed up a mouthful of blood. Uke. Sakura managed to say before she fell over, her blood staining the ground surrounding them. Naruto watched on in horror, praying that he was in a genjutsu. He formed a hand seal and flared his chakra. Kai. Please Kami Kai. But to Naruto's horror the scene didn't change. Tears started to pour out his eyes as he ran to Sakura. When Naruto reached Sakura, he immediately took her in his arms. He checked for a pulse, there was none. Naruto hugged Sakura close to his chest and sobbed openly. How pathetic, Sasuke scoffed as he continued to walk. I believe we something to finish, Naruto. Hearing Sasuke say that, something snapped inside Naruto. He let out a growl as he looked at Sasuke. I was gonna try and convince you to stop this, but now I am gonna kill you. Naruto yelled, his eyes turning red. Sasuke for the first time was actually afraid of Naruto. He had never heard Naruto speak that way, and he had never seen him so angry. Fine, try your best, Dobi. Sasuke said before he took off. Naruto looked down at Sakura, and chalked back one more sob before a look of fury spread across his face. I swear, Sakura-chan, I will avenge you. Naruto thought as he tightly held Sakura on last time. Naruto looked at Kakashi, who was too shocked to speak, but he did have a few tears falling from his eyes. Sensei, please watch Sakura-chan for me. I'm going to finish this now. Naruto said as he handed Sakura's lifeless body to Kakashi. Kakashi dumbly nodded and clutched Sakura to his chest, and held her in his arms. The silver-haired man looked down at his student and fresh tears fell from his eyes. Sasuke, you've gone too far this time. You are dead to me. Naruto thought as felt Kurama's chakra course through his body. Go get that bastard kit. Kurama's yin half said, lending Naruto as much of his chakra as possible. With this extra chakra pumping through his system, Naruto raced after Sasuke. Ready to kill the man, who he had promised to save. 10 minutes later. After chasing after Sasuke for over 10 minutes, Naruto landed on Hashirama's head at the Valley of the End. Hey, I knew you'd come here, Naruto said, closing his eyes. This brings back a lot of memories. Nothing will change. Sasuke tried to speak, but he was cut off by Naruto. Shut up. You don't get to talk, you bastard. This time things will end differently. This time I'm not trying to bring you back. This time I'm gonna kill you. Naruto growled out, his voice full of rage. Without another word, both former friends took off towards each other. They meet in the middle of the ravine, and their arms clash. Instantly they're both thrown back. Sasuke, seizing the opportunity, launched a massive fireball at Naruto. Naruto quickly activated his Sage Kyuubi mode, and dodged the fireball. Sasuke suddenly appeared behind Naruto with a Chidori charged, ready to spear Naruto. But Naruto was ready for this and dodged attack and delivered a powerful kick to Sasuke's jaw. Sasuke was sent flying back by the force of the kick, but he managed to straighten himself out and land on his feet. Quickly wiping the blood from his mouth, Sasuke activated his Susanoo. Sasuke fired an Amaterasu arrow at Naruto. But again Naruto dodged and went into his Biju mode. Naruto quickly made a familiar hand sign and 2 more Biju mode Narutos appeared. All 3 of them made a Biju-powered Rasenshuriken in each hand, and threw them at Sasuke. Seeing all 6 attacks flying towards him, Sasuke used his Rinnegan to quickly teleport out of the way. But Sasuke had no time to relax as Naruto, still in Biju mod, was already charging at him, with a Rasengan in his hand. Sasuke charged a Chidori in his Susanoo's hand, and he started to charge Naruto. Both attacks clashed, each trying to overpower the other. An explosion rang out, and both Naruto and Sasuke were sent flying backwards. Naruto and Sasuke were both exhausted now, each had used their strongest attacks and were out of chakra. But neither was ready to stop fighting yet. It now came down to a battle of fists. Both traded and blocked blows. When Naruto would land a successful blow, Sasuke would follow with one immediately after. "Just hold on, kid, I've almost got some chakra ready for you," Kurama said as he gathered chakra and sent it to Naruto. But to Naruto and Kurama's horror, Sasuke grabbed Naruto and started to absorb the chakra he was receiving. Since when could this asshole absorb chakra? Kurama yelled in anger. By now Sasuke had thrown Naruto to the ground and had a Chidori charged. Naruto was so exhausted he could barely move. "This ends now, Naruto," Sasuke said as he lunged towards Naruto, ready for the kill. Naruto, however, was not ready to give up. Mustering up strength, Naruto managed to deliver an uppercut to Sasuke's jaw, making him stumble back. Seeing his opportunity, Naruto scrambled to his feet ready to finish this. "Here, kid, this is all I've got. Remember, don't let him take it," Kurama said as he gave Naruto the last of his chakra. Both Naruto and Sasuke were battered and bruised, but Naruto was determined to kill Sasuke. When Sasuke looked to Naruto, he saw he had a Rasengan swirling in his hand. "It's time to end this," Sasuke thought as he charged a Chidori, the electricity crackling around his arm. In a flash they were both charging towards each other. Naruto, Sasuke. But just before the jutsus clashed, Sasuke's eyes widened when he saw Naruto's Rasengan change. A loud howling sound was heard as the Rasengan formed 4 spinning blades of wind. Naruto had managed to change his Rasengan into a Rasenshuriken. Both attacks clashed, but this time Sasuke's Chidori was quickly overpowered. Sasuke was sent flying backwards as the Rasenshuriken was shoved into his chest. A blinding explosion went off as the Rasenshuriken destroyed Sasuke's body at the cellular level. When the light died down, Sasuke was lying in a crater gasping for breath with his right arm missing. Naruto walked up to the crater and stood over Sasuke. "Just do it, finish me off," Sasuke wheezed out as blood poured from his mouth. Naruto was hesitant, but he pulled a kunai from his pouch. Taking a deep breath, Naruto plunged the kunai into Sasuke's chest, killing him. Naruto dropped the kunai and fell to his knees. Tears fell from his eyes, as he was overcome with grief. "My best friend, and the girl I loved. They're both dead," Naruto thought as he continued to cry. Naruto didn't know how long he sat there, wallowing in his grief. But suddenly he felt a hand grasp his shoulder. Naruto turned his head to see Kakashi standing there with a sad look in his eyes. Naruto looked past Kakashi and spotted Sakura's body gently laid out on the ground. Then Naruto looked to Sasuke, he looked into his lifeless eyes. Then Naruto looked at Sasuke's Rinnegan, then to Sakura, and an idea came to him. "I've lost so much already, I refuse to lose her too," Naruto thought as he steeled himself for what he planned to do. Sakura had never felt so much pain in her life. When she felt Sasuke pierce her chest, she looked into his eyes and saw nothing but evil and hatred. Then he slowly extracted his arm from her chest. She managed to utter his name, before she fell over. There was nothing but complete blackness for what seemed like hours. But then Sakura saw a light off in the distance. They say to not walk towards the light, but it's like I'm being drawn towards it. Sakura said as she started walking towards the light. When she got closer she noticed that the light was a small campfire. But that wasn't what struck her as odd. What struck her as odd was that there were two figures sitting around the fire, a man and a woman. As she neared, both people turned towards her. The man she recognized, but the woman she had never seen before. "Ah Sakura, we were just talking about you," the man said. "Yeah, come take a seat Ttebane. Come take a seat Databane," the beautiful red-haired woman said, motioning for Sakura to sit next to her. Databane, that sounds like something Naruto would say. Sakura thought as she hesitantly walked forward. The man, who she recently had found out was the Yondaime Hokage and Naruto's father, scooted over, allowing Sakura to sit between the two of them. "So Sakura, what happened? When I left everything seemed fine," Minato said, curious as to why Sakura was there. "Well, Sasuke killed me," Sakura bluntly answered. "What? Why would he do that?" Minato asked, getting upset. "Wait, Sasuke, as in Sasuke Uchiha?" the red-haired woman asked. "Yeah, do you know him?" Sakura asked. The woman was starting to gain her interest. "No, not really, but I did knew his mom, Makoto Uchiha," the woman replied, piquing Sakura's interest. "Excuse me for asking, but who exactly are you?" Sakura asked, wanting to know who this mystery woman is. "Me, I'm Kushina Uzumaki," the woman said proudly. "Uzumaki? Do you know Naruto?" Sakura continued her questioning. "Know him, I'm his mother Databane," Kushina said with pride in her voice. Mother?" Sakura stammered out, stunned. This beautiful woman was Naruto's mother. Kami with a mom and dad as good looking as them, no wonder Naruto is so hot. Where the hell did that come from? Sakura thought, but she was interrupted by someone she hadn't heard from in a long time. Well, look who's finally noticing her feelings. Inner Sakura said in a knowing tone. "You, I thought you were long gone, and what the hell are you talking about?" Sakura thought, surprised to hear from her inner self. "Oh, I wasn't gone, dormant is the term I'd use. And I was talking about your feelings for Naruto, you baka." Inner Sakura said, scolding her outer self. What are you talking about?" Sakura stammered out, her face turning red. "You know you love him. You have for a long time. You just had to push past your childish obsession with Sasuke." Inner Sakura said, her words ringing in Sakura's mind. "Hello. Sakura, are you alright?" Kushina said, snapping her fingers in front of Sakura's face. "Just think about it," Inner Sakura said before she cut off their connection. I'm fine, Mrs. Uzumaki. I just spaced out for a minute there," Sakura said, getting back into the conversation. "Oh, it's alright dear, dying kinda has that effect on you. Also please call me Kushina," the red-haired woman said with a smile. Sakura, what's this? Minato was telling me about you being my son's girlfriend," Kushina said in a sing-song voice. What? Sakura almost yelled, glaring at Minato. Now dear, don't embarrass the girl," Minato said, trying to stop his wife before Sakura beat him. He may be dead, but that didn't mean he couldn't feel pain. Come on Minato-kun, I wanna talk to my Sochi's girlfriend," Kushina whined. I'm not Naruto's girlfriend, we're just really close friends," Sakura said, trying to deny what Kushina was saying. "Really, that's surprising. When I first spoke with Naruto, all he talked about was you," Kushina said, surprised. Really?" Sakura said, her heart fluttering and her face turning red. "Yeah, he went on and on about you. He only had the nicest things to say about Sakura-chan," Kushina said. Again Sakura's heart fluttered again, hearing that Naruto thought so much of her. I just don't know what to feel around Naruto. He makes me feel all weird and bubbly whenever I'm around him," Sakura said as she ran her hands through her hair. "Well, let's see if we can help you recognize your true feelings for our son," Minato said as he snapped his fingers. Instantly a misty-like haze appeared in front of them. "What is that?" Sakura asked as she stood up and walked toward the haze. "This," Kushina said, gesturing towards the mist, "will allow you to see people's memories." "Really?" Sakura asked, feeling skeptical. "Yep," Kushina said happily. "Let's try it out on you first." Instantly the mist was filled with images from Sakura's life. It showed her worst and her best moments. Sakura felt terrible watching herself hit and berate Naruto with his parents right in front of her. But instead of getting angry, Kushina was laughing and giggling whenever Sakura hit him. "You aren't mad I hit Naruto?" Sakura asked, surprised Kushina wasn't trying to strangle her. "No, Naruto deserved a good smack most of the time. Plus I would have done the same thing if I were in your position." Kushina laughed, but she stopped when a certain memory flashed into the mist. When Sakura looked at the memory, she was filled with regret. It was the memory of her confession in the Land of Iron. As the scene played out, Sakura tried to hide her tears of regret. But she was unsuccessful, as tears started to freely fall from her eyes. Sakura was surprised to feel someone wiping away her tears. When she looked, she saw Kushina smiling at her. "Why aren't you furious at me? I broke Naruto's heart there," Sakura said, gesturing towards the images. "Because as I watched that confession, even though it was mostly a lie, I could tell deep down that you were telling the truth," Kushina said as she gripped Sakura's shoulder. Call it a mother's intuition. Sakura couldn't help but think back to that day. She couldn't deny that when she held Naruto, that it felt right to have him in her arms. That the words, "I love you," flowed out so naturally when directed towards Naruto. Was Kushina right? Did she really love Naruto? Plus there's this, Minato said again, gesturing towards the mist. This time the memory was of her fighting desperately to save Naruto's life during the war, even resorting to manually pumping his heart. "That right there proves to me how far you're willing to go for my son," Minato said with a smile. Things started to click in Sakura's mind. Pieces started to fall into place. She was starting to understand her true feelings for Naruto. "Now let's look at Naruto's memories," Minato said as again the images changed, but this time they were from Naruto's point of view. As the images flew by, Sakura couldn't help but smile at how close Naruto and her had become. She watched all the intimate moments they shared, and her heart beat faster every time Naruto complimented her or saved her from danger. A few memories caught her attention though. Like when he first returned with Jiraiya, she watched as Naruto said she hadn't changed at all. That had irritated her when she first heard that. But seeing it from Naruto's perspective, it gave her a new viewpoint. She realized that Naruto had meant that she was still as beautiful as ever, and she hadn't changed in his eyes. Then there was the time he saved her from Sasuke, as he prepared to kill her. She felt the fear in his heart, at the prospect of losing her. She saw how determined he was to save her, just after she had nearly broken his heart. Seeing this made Sakura feel like a piece of shit, for everything she did to him. But the memory that made her heart skip a beat, was a memory from way back when Team 7 was first formed. "Wait, stop here," Sakura said, wanting to watch this memory unfold. She watched as Naruto beat and tied up Sasuke. But when she saw him henge into Sasuke, everything clicked into place. Her eyes widened as she watched the scene that had made her cling to Sasuke unfold. It was Naruto who had called her forehead charming. It was Naruto who made her feel so loved and special that day. It was Naruto, who she truly loved. Her eyes were now opened and she had seen the light. That light was her true love, Naruto Uzumaki. "You stupid baka," Sakura thought as tears fell from her eyes. "Why did you never tell me that was you? It could have been you I was chasing after. Now do you see? If you want to find out why he never told you, keep watching." Inner Sakura said as again cut off their connection. Sakura wiped her tears, and turned back towards the mist. This time it was a memory of them returning after a mission. She watched as she walked off, with Naruto standing with Sai. Then as she watched the scene unfold, her heart ached again. It was that damn selfish, immature promise that stopped Naruto from confessing his feelings for her. Again tears sprung from her eyes. It was her fault Naruto and her weren't together. "Kami, I'm such a selfish bitch," Sakura yelled in her head, pissed at her stupidity. "Yep, you sure are," Inner Sakura chimed in. "Kami, shut up," Sakura yelled, cutting of their connection. "So Sakura, did that help you realize your feelings?" Minato asked. Yes it did. "Thank you for that, I needed it," Sakura said. "So what are your feelings for my little Sochi?" Kushina asked with a hopeful smile on her face. I do love Naruto," Sakura said as she clutched her fluttering heart, the words sounding so right as she said them. "Ah, that's so good to hear." Kushina squealed, happy that her son had followed her dying wish. He had found a woman just like her. "But I'm dead, so none of this matters." Sakura sighed in frustration. Of course, just as she recognizes her feeling for Naruto, she goes and dies. On the contrary, you might have your chance at love after all. Minato said with a smile as he gestured for Sakura to look at yourself. Sakura looked down and she was slightly glowing. What's going on? Sakura asked, scared of what was going to happen. Looks like it wasn't your time yet, you're being called back. Minato said as he gripped Sakura's shoulder. As Sakura started to fade away, she heard Kushina call out to her. Oh, Sakura, when you get back make sure to tell Naruto how you feel right away, Kushina yelled. I want to be a grandma soon, and tell Mebuki I said hi. What? You knew my mom? Sakura asked in surprise. Yeah, Makoto, her, and I were best friends. Kushina yelled out. Sakura never got to respond as she faded away and was gone. When Sakura was gone, Minato turned and wrapped his arms around his wife's waist. I have a feeling she won't be the only one going after our son. Minato said as he slowly rubbed Kushina's back. Ah, I think you're right on that one. But even though our son will likely have many loves, that girl will be closest to his heart, that will never change. Kushina said as she wrapped her arms around Minato's neck. Now my dear husband, why don't you show me the reason they call you the Yellow Flash? Kushina said as she looked at Minato with lust-filled violet eyes. Minato just sweat dropped and obliged. Man, Kushina is truly insatiable. I mean, we did it 4 times before Sakura even got here. Minato thought as he pulled his wife in for a kiss. When Sakura opened her eyes, she felt a strong pair of arms around her. She looked up to see Naruto looking down at her. But what shocked her was one of his eyes held a blue Tomoed Rinnegan. Naruto. 1 hour earlier, Valley of the End. Kakashi-sensei, I have an idea. Naruto said as he gently took the Rinnegan out of Sasuke's right eye. Okay Naruto, I'm all ears, Kakashi said. I want you to replace my left eye with Sasuke's Rinnegan. Naruto said as he placed the Rinnegan in Kakashi's hand. What? I'm not a medic, Naruto. Kakashi said frantically. True, but I know you've copied some medical ninjutsu, Naruto said. Kakashi looked at the Rinnegan in his hand. True, he knew medical ninjutsu, but he was in no way trained in it. He knew how to do the operation, but he was afraid he'd botch it. But he knew they had no other options. With a sigh he gave his answer. Fine, we'll do this, Naruto, Kakashi said, laying Naruto on his back. But I need you to stall still, and be quiet. I'll need the utmost concentration. Seeing Naruto nod, Kakashi started the operation. Now Naruto had been punched, kicked, stabbed, and blown up more times than he cared to remember. But the pain of having his eye pulled out was indescribable, and the fear he felt when he couldn't see out his left eye was almost as bad. He wanted to scream as loud as his lungs allowed, but he forced it down. Kakashi needed to concentrate. As soon as the pain started, it was over, and Naruto could see out of his left eye again. As soon as the operation was over, Kakashi slumped forward, out of chakra. The power he felt from the Rinnegan was indescribable. He wanted to test out all the abilities his eye possessed. But he knew he had a task to accomplish. So Naruto stood on shaky legs, ready to perform the jutsus. He decided to undo the infinite Tsukuyomi first. Naruto channeled the Biju chakra inside him into his Rinnegan. Then Naruto flashed through some hand seals. There was a bright flash that illuminated the sky. Turning around, Naruto and Kakashi saw that the moon had returned to normal. Knowing that everyone trapped in the genjutsu would wake up, Naruto prepared himself for the next, more difficult jutsu. You do know how incredibly stupid and dangerous this is, right? Kakashi said, the worry in his voice obvious. Hey, that's never stopped me before, Naruto said with his trademark grin. Plus we Uzumaki are known for out stamina, vitality, and endurance. I mean, if I can survive Kurama being extracted from me, I can live this. But just as Naruto was about to perform the jutsu, he felt Kakashi's hand on his shoulder. Please be careful, Naruto. I don't think I can handle losing another student. Kakashi said, the worry visible in his eyes. Don't worry, sensei, I promise everything will be alright. Naruto said with a soft smile. Naruto slowly went through the hand seals he remembered Nagato using. Landing on the last seal, Naruto channeled chakra into his Rinnegan. Rinne Tensai no Jutsu, Naruto said. When Naruto opened his eyes, he found himself in a pitch-black area. Walking around, Naruto saw a ghostly figure. As Naruto approached, he noticed it was a shinobi. The ghostly shinobi appeared to be talking to another figure. Getting closer he recognized the shinobi's face, and his face lit up. Neji! Naruto yelled as he approached the fallen Hyuga. But Neji didn't make any movements. Naruto tapped Neji on the shoulder, but when he did Neji turned into a green light and disappeared. Understanding what happened, Naruto started to bring back every fallen shinobi and kunoichi he could. Naruto even managed to save a few additional people. Like Konan, who he was upset he couldn't save from Obito, and Ryuuzetsu, who had sacrificed her life to save his. But some of the shinobi couldn't be saved for some reason, like his master Jiraiya, which saddened him greatly. As Kakashi watched Naruto, he noticed Naruto's hair start to turn white and he seemed to age rapidly. Naruto, please don't overdo it. Kakashi thought just as the ground started to shake. Turning around, Kakashi saw the same figure that appeared after Pain's attack. Suddenly the King of Hell opened its mouth and souls started to pour out of its mouth. Kakashi looked to his student who was starting to pant in exhaustion. Naruto was almost ready to leave, he had saved as many shinobi as possible. He had enough chakra left for one more person, and he was still looking for her. Naruto wandered around the empty blackness for what seemed like hours. Just as he was about to give up and try again later, he spotted a light in the distance. Walking towards it, Naruto saw three figures sitting around a fire. They seemed to be having a conversation. As he neared, his eyes lit up. It was his parents and Sakura. Naruto ran towards them and immediately touched Sakura on shoulder. Instantly she started to glow and fade away. Naruto glanced once at his parents. His mother seemed to be yelling something at Sakura, and his dad was smiling. With his own smile, Naruto cancelled the jutsu and returned to the real world. Naruto opened his eyes, his features returning to normal, as he started panting lightly. He immediately ran over to Sakura, and took her in his arms. Naruto held Sakura close as she started to stir. When she opened her eyes, Naruto was filled with more joy than he had ever felt in his entire life. He looked into her beautiful green eyes, and was almost brought to tears. Naruto, Sakura said as tears formed in her eyes. But she was filled with happiness as Naruto brought her into a crushing hug. Thank Kami, you're alright, Sakura-chan. Naruto said as he openly wept into her shoulder as he hugged her. Naruto, you saved me again. Sakura said as she wrapped her arms around Naruto, her own tears falling as well. Of course Sakura-chan, I'll always be there to save you, Naruto said as he hugged her tighter. Because I love you, Sakura-chan. Sakura's heart was filled with joy upon hearing those words. Now Sakura was prepared to finally return them. Lightly pushing Naruto off her, she looked him right in the eyes. Naruto, I love you too, Sakura said as she leaned in and kissed him passionately. Naruto's eyes widened when he felt Sakura's lips on his. They were soft and they felt perfect on his lips. After a minute they both pulled away, each had a dreamy look on their face. Kakashi looked on with an eye smile. Also, it finally happened. Kakashi thought as he saw his two students finally realize their feelings for each other. What changed your mind, Sakura-chan? Naruto asked, surprised by her sudden change of heart. While I was dead, I met your parents. They helped me recognize my feelings for you, Sakura said as she gave Naruto a chaste kiss. So that's what you were talking about, Naruto said, what he saw making sense. Because I saw you talking to my parents before I saved you. Naruto pulled Sakura in for another hug. Sakura, I always have, and always will love you, Naruto said as he held Sakura tightly. I know it took a long time for me to realize, but I love you too, Naruto. I have for a long time, Sakura said as she returned the hug. Well, I hate to break this beautiful moment, but we still have work to do, Kakashi said, making the both of them realize they still had a lot of work to do. Naruto helped Sakura up and together all three of them made their way back to the battlefield. Back on the battlefield, thousands of shinobi were being released from their dream worlds. One of these shinobi was Hinata Hyuga. When her pearl eyes slowly opened, she immediately sprung out of her cocoon. She got her bearings, then immediately took off running towards where she sensed Naruto's chakra. But she was stopped in her tracks as she recognized a figure walking in front of her. When the figure turned around, she gasped. Neji Nisan, you're alive. Neji awoke with a heavy intake of breath. He scanned his environment, and he recognized it as the battlefield he had died on. When he looked down at his clothes, they still had holes in the areas where he was impaled. What is going on? I know I was killed. Neji thought as he slowly stood up. I was talking with my father, then suddenly I'm back here. Neji started to walk around. He spotted many other confused shinobi in the same position as him. They were positive they died, but then how are they back in the land of the living? As Neji walked, a sudden thought came to his mind. Hinata-sama. I must find her and make sure she's alright, Neji thought. But just as Neji was about to take off running, he heard someone call out to him. Neji-Nisan, you're alive. When Neji spun around, he was met with a crushing hug from Hinata. I can't believe you're alive, Hinata said as she cried tears of joy into Neji's shoulder. Neji, never having been really good with emotions, awkwardly wrapped his arms around Hinata. How are you alive, Nisan? Hinata asked, her head still on his shoulder. I don't know. 1 second I was talking with my father, then the next I'm back here. Neji said as Hinata released him from the hug. It must have something to do with Naruto-kun. Hinata said as she felt Naruto's chakra approaching. Naruto, so he did it after all. Neji said as he turned around. On the horizon 3 figures approached, as the rising sun framed their figures. The heroes of the shinobi world had returned. But wait, where was the fourth? Naruto helped support Sakura as they walked back towards the battlefield. As they slowly made their way back, Naruto and Sakura were discussing a few things. So are we gonna tell people right away? Sakura asked as she leaned her head against Naruto's. Tell them about what? Oh, Naruto had matured, but his denseness still was very present. I'm talking about us being together, Yubaka. Sakura yelled as a vein bulged on her head, but she couldn't help the smile that spread on her face. Naruto, you'll never change. But that's one of the things I love about you. Sakura thought as she pulled Naruto a little closer. Well, I don't. Naruto started to say, but he stopped dead when he noticed something he had missed before. Naruto, what's wrong? Sakura asked, wondering why he stopped mid-sentence. Then Sakura noticed Naruto was trying to avert his gaze, while he was trying to fight off a massive blush. When Sakura followed his gaze, she was mortified at what she saw. There was still a gaping hole from where Sasuke had stabbed her, and her left was clearly visible through the opening. Sakura let out a loud eep, before she quickly let go of Naruto and covered herself up. Oh my Kami, I'm so embarrassed. Sakura thought as her face turned beet red. He was gonna see eventually, so what's the big deal? Inner Sakura said with a dirty smirk. They're bigger than I thought they'd be. Naruto thought as he tried to pry his eyes away. Oh shit, I better act fast, or Sakura is gonna kill me. Acting quickly, Naruto took off his tattered orange jacket and handed it to Sakura. Just as Sakura was about to pummel Naruto, she saw him take off his jacket. Here, take it, Naruto said as he looked another way. Well, at least he's not a total perv. Sakura thought with a smile, as she took the jacket and put it on. Both still red-faced, they turned to see Kakashi staring at them with a red streak in his mask. Sensei. They both shouted, knocking Kakashi out of his perverted thoughts. Huh, what? Kakashi said, but before he could continue he felt a fist impact his stomach. But the punch didn't come from Sakura. As he clutched his stomach, Kakashi looked up to see Naruto looking back at him with anger visible in his eyes. I can handle your normal perversion, Sensei, because to be honest I'm not much better. But if I ever see you looking at Sakura-chan like that again, I won't hold back next time. Naruto said as he got in Kakashi's face to make his point clear. Sure thing, Naruto. Kakashi said as he rapidly nodded his head. Note to self, never piss off Naruto ever again. Kakashi thought as he stood up, still holding his stomach. Wow, I never thought Naruto would stand up to Kakashi-sensei like that. Sakura thought with a smile on her face. Naruto walked back over to Sakura, and let her lean on him again as they continued to walk. After walking for what seemed like hours, the sun was starting to rise. As Naruto, Sakura, and Kakashi walked over the crest of a hill, they were met with the sight of thousands of shinobi waiting for them. Instantly the three of them were surrounded, as the shinobi alliance cheered and congratulated the returning heroes. Naruto and Sakura were quickly separated from Kakashi as they made their way through the crowd. As they walked, Naruto spotted someone he was looking for. Neji, Hinata. Naruto yelled as Sakura and him made their way over. Naruto-kun. Hinata yelled as she ran up to Naruto and hugged him. Sakura looked at the scene with a twinge of jealousy. It's alright, she's just happy to see him. Sakura thought as she forced a smile on her face. Hey Hinata-chan, it's good to see you're okay. Naruto said as he returned her hug. Hinata sighed happily as she felt Naruto's arms wrap around her. But something felt slightly off about him. She released Naruto and looked him in the eyes, but she was shocked to see a Rinnegan in his left eye. Naruto-kun, why do you have a Rinnegan? Hinata gasped as she gazed into the blue rippled pattern eye. Well, that's a long story, Hinata. Naruto said with a sigh. Long story short, Sasuke. Sasuke killed Sakura. Hinata and Neji went wide-eyed when they heard this. So I went after him, and fought him. I ended up killing him, but I was overcome with grief and didn't know what to do. Then when I looked at Sakura, I remembered that Sasuke had received the Rinnegan, Naruto said as he felt Sakura's hand intertwine with his. So I had Kakashi-sensei replace my left eye with Sasuke's Rinnegan. So it was you who brought all these dead shinobi back to life, myself included. Neji said with a small smile on his face. Yeah, that was me. Naruto said with his usual foxy grin. I wanted to save Sakura, but seeing all those other shinobi, I knew I had to help them too. So can you turn the Rinnegan off? Neji asked. I don't know, let me try. Naruto said as he stopped channeling chakra to his eye. For a second nothing happened, but after a few moments his eye returned to its normal bright blue color. It worked, Sakura said, getting lost in Naruto's deep blue eyes. Naruto was about to say something, but the rest of the Kohona 11 showed up. Naruto, you bastard, you did it. Kiba yelled as he playfully punched Naruto in the arm. Yeah, great job Naruto. Choji chimed in as he patted Naruto on the back. Yosh, you're amazing Naruto-kun. No wonder you're my eternal rival. Lee yelled, giving Naruto a thumbs up. You're so troublesome sometimes Naruto, but you really pulled through on this one. Shikamaru said as he offered Naruto a smile. Great job Naruto. Sai said with a genuine smile on his face. I must concur with everyone else, Naruto. You did an exceptional job. Shino said in his usual monotone voice. As the remaining rookie 9 praised and congratulated Naruto and Sakura, Tenten hesitantly made her way towards Neji. Neji. Tenten said hesitantly as she walked up to the stoic Hyuga. Yes Tenten, it's me, no thanks to Naruto. Neji said as he was once again hugged by a crying Tenten. Thank Kami you're alive, Tenten said as she hugged him tighter. Neji. You're alive. Lee yelled as he hugged Neji along with Tenten. Neji just cringed and accepted the three-way hug. Naruto, where's Sasuke-kun? Ino asked, looking for the Uchiha. This caused everyone to stop and turn to Naruto. Well, Naruto was about to explain again, but Sakura stepped in front of him. That bastard is dead, Sakura said harshly, causing Ino and everyone else to gasp. What? Ino said as she tried to fight off tears. Don't you dare cry for him. Sakura yelled, causing Ino to flinch. Did you know that asshole killed me? This caused Ino's eyes to shoot open. He what? Ino asked, not believing her ears. He was gonna try and kill Naruto, all the cage, and the Biju, Sakura said as she relived the awful experience. I tried to talk him out of it, but he wasn't gonna listen to me. He called me annoying, then he stabbed me in the heart with his Chidori. Sakura said as she placed a hand over her heart. It's only thanks to Naruto that I'm here right now. But he wouldn't. Ino was cut off when she felt a hand on her shoulder. Ino-chan, I'm sorry that I had to kill Sasuke, but he needed to be stopped. If there was any other way to stop him I would have taken it, Naruto said as he pulled Ino in for a hug. If you need to cry, do it. Ino was hesitant at first, but Naruto was being so sincere and kind. So with a loud sob she let out all her grief. The pain of losing her father, then the man she thought she loved came crashing down on her. As Ino cried into his shoulder, Naruto slowly started rubbing her back. Ino-chan, I know you're sad now, but there will be a surprise for you back at the village. Naruto said, causing Ino to stop crying. What do you mean? Ino said as she wiped her tears. You'll see when we get back to the village, but I promise you'll love it. Naruto said with his trademark grin. Then Naruto looked to Shikamaru. The same thing goes for you, Shikamaru. You're in for a surprise when we get back to the village, Naruto said. Man, this is such a drag. Shikamaru lazily drawled out. Well, I guess we should look for Ba-chan, then make our way back home. Naruto said as he held onto Sakura as he walked. Sakura never noticed the jealous looks she was getting from Hinata and Ino. After sifting through the crowds for what seemed like hours, Naruto and the rest of the Konoha 11 found Tsunade and the rest of the cage directing the shinobi forces. Ba-chan. Naruto yelled as he led Sakura and himself over to Tsunade. As Tsunade was directing a group of Konoha shinobi towards the medical area, she heard someone call out to her. A vein popped in her head when she heard the person call her granny. What disrespectful little shit wants to die? Tsunade thought as she turned around. But when she saw who was standing there, her eyes lit up. Naruto. Sakura. Tsunade yelled as she grabbed both of them and brought them into a crushing hug, mashing them against her massive Shisho C can't be breath. Sakura gasped out as her and Naruto started to turn blue. Sorry you too, Tsunade said as she let them go. I'm just so happy to see that you're okay. Yup, we're alright, Ba-chan. Naruto said with a grin. Well, let me finish up here, then we can start heading back to the village. Tsunade said as she turned around, started directing troops again. After a few hours of assisting troops, Tsunade and the rest of Konoha's forces started making their way back home. As they neared the village gates, Naruto had just finished explaining what had happened while everyone was in the infinite Tsukuyomi. I see. Tsunade said, hearing the end of Naruto's explanation. Then I really have to congratulate you, Gaki. You did a damn fine job. Thanks, Ba-chan. Naruto said as the village gates came into view. There was already crowd gathered at the gates. As soon as the returning shinobi came into view, the crowd burst into loud cheers. All the returning shinobi dispersed amongst the crowd, to see their loved ones and celebrate. Ino slowly made her way through the crowd with her head down. She just wanted to get home, and see her mom. But as she walked, she bumped into someone. Muttering a quick apology, Ino tried to walk around the person. But she was stopped when the person placed a hand on her shoulder. When she looked at the person, she was met with the face of her father. Daddy, Ino said as tears welled up in her eyes. Yes, Haim, it's me, Inoichi said as his daughter broke down and hugged him. How are you alive? Ino asked as she cried into Inoichi's chest. I'm guessing it has something to do with that young man there, Inoichi said as he pointed to Naruto, who was surrounded by a group of cheering villagers. Naruto, I can't thank you enough for this. But I will repay you somehow. Ino thought as she clutched a hand to her heart, as she gazed at Naruto. She was starting to see Naruto in a new light. While Ino reunited with her father, Shikamaru was nearing the Nara compound. As Shikamaru was about to walk in, the front door soft click stopped him. He walked around the corner and saw his father silently setting up a game of shogi. Dad, Shikamaru said as he hesitantly made his way closer. Yes, son, I'm alive, and I'm as surprised as you, Shikaku said as he turned to face his son. I believe it has something to do with Naruto. Naruto, you troublesome bastard. Shikamaru thought as few tears fell from his eyes. Now why don't you sit down and play a game with your old man? Let's see if you're as smart as everyone says, Shikaku said with a small smirk. Quickly wiping his tears, Shikamaru sat down across from his father, and the two sat silently and enjoyed each other's company. It was starting to get late, and Naruto decided to walk Sakura home after they had been celebrating. The two walked silently and enjoyed the comfortable silence. As soon as Naruto and Sakura stepped onto the front steps, the door to the house burst open. Sakura, Mebuki and Kazashi yelled as they snatched their daughter and hugged her. Hi mom, hi dad, Sakura said as she returned the hug. Come on Sakura, you must be exhausted, Kazashi said as he started to lead his daughter away. I'll see you tomorrow, Sakura-chan, Naruto said as he made his way down the steps. But just before he reached the street, he heard someone clear their throat. Turning, Naruto saw Mebuki standing in the doorway, staring at him. Is there something I can help you with, Haruno-san? Naruto asked politely. Please Naruto, call me Mebuki, the blonde said. I just want to know what happened between you and my daughter. Naruto started sweating bullets when he heard this. What makes you think something happened? Naruto asked nervously. Call it a mother's intuition, now talk, Mebuki said, putting her hands on her hips. I thinks it's best if Sakura tells you, Naruto said. Just as Mebuki was about to question Naruto further, he poofed into a cloud of smoke. Hime Kage Bushin, when did he do that? Mebuki thought with a sigh as she closed the door and walked into her home. In a nearby alley, Naruto was breathing heavily. Man, that was close, Naruto thought as he left the alley. Now I need to get home, there's still 2 people I need to find. After a home-cooked meal and a long explanation, Sakura was heading upstairs for some much-needed sleep. Good night, Sakura, Mebuki called from downstairs. Good night, Mom, Sakura said, but before she walked into her room she remembered something. Oh, and Mom, Kushina says hi. Saying that, Sakura walked into her room. Downstairs in the kitchen, Mebuki immediately stopped what she was doing. How can she know Kushina? She's been dead for 17 years, Mebuki thought as a few tears fell from her eyes. Sakura, what aren't you telling me? Naruto was walking up the steps to his apartment, but he stopped when he saw 2 figures leaning against the railing outside his door. He could hear that the 2 of them were talking quietly. Hey Konan, Ryuuzetsu, Naruto said as he walked over to the 2 kunoichi. I've been looking all over for you too. Konan was no longer wearing her Akatsuki cloak. She now wore a form-fitting blue kimono that showed off her curves generously. Ryuuzetsu was still wearing the same outfit Naruto last saw her in, minus her green bandana. But the hole where Muku had stabbed her was gone. Hello Naruto, Konan said as she bowed slightly. Hey Naruto, Ryuuzetsu said as she walked up to him. I'm guessing it was you who brought us back to life. Yeah, that was me, Naruto said as he scratched the back of his head. I had to save you guys, since you both sacrificed your lives to save mine. We did it, because this world needs you, Naruto, Konan said as she approached him. Nagato and I both knew that. That's why we were willing to give our lives for you to achieve peace in this world. Yes, you're this world's guiding light, Ryuuzetsu said with a smile. Thank you both so much, Naruto said as he pulled them both into a hug. Well, why don't we head inside? You 2 can stay with me, until you find your own places, Naruto said opening his door. Then tomorrow we can go see Tsunade Bachan, and get you both enlisted as Kohona shinobi. Sounds like a plan, Ryuuzetsu said as she walked into the small apartment. Why not? I got nothing waiting for me back in Omegakure, Konan said as she walked through the door. After a homemade meal, courtesy of Konan, and a few hours of small talk, Naruto set his bed up for his guests. Ryuuzetsu and Konan at first didn't accept the offer, but Naruto refused to make his guests sleep on his couch. As Naruto slept on the couch, nightmares started to corrode his dreams. "Hn, you're so annoying. I'll shut you up for good this time," Sasuke said as flashed forward and stabbed Sakura in the chest. Her blood splattering Naruto's face. Naruto, Sakura said as she fell forward, dead. You're next, Dobi, Sasuke said, his arm coated in electricity. Naruto just stood there shell-shocked as Sasuke's arm shot forward. Just before Sasuke's arm pierced Naruto's chest, he shot up on the couch drenched in a cold sweat. Naruto sat on the couch panting as he relived the previous day's events. It felt so real, Naruto thought as sat up. A nagging feeling him slip on his jacket and sandals. I know she's alright, but I have to be sure, Naruto thought as he walked out his door towards Sakura's house. Naruto arrived at Sakura's home, and immediately jumped up to her balcony. Looking through the sliding glass doors, Naruto spotted Sakura sleeping soundly in her bed. Naruto just sat there watching her for a few minutes. Kami, she's beautiful while she sleeps, Naruto thought just before he stood up to leave. But just as Naruto was about to leave, he saw Sakura start to thrash in her bed. Sasuke, no, Sakura yelled as tears streamed down her face. Naruto immediately opened the sliding door and took Sakura in his arms. Shish, Sakura-chan, it's alright, I'm here, Naruto said trying to soothe Sakura. Naruto, thank Kami you're here, Sakura said as she cried into his chest. I was having a terrible nightmare. I kept reliving Sasuke killing me over and over again. I was having the same dream, Naruto said as he held Sakura close. But I'm here now, and I will never let anything like that happen to you again. After letting Sakura hold him for a few more minutes, Naruto stood to leave. But he was stopped when Sakura grabbed his arm. Please Naruto, don't go, Sakura said as she started to shake lightly. I don't think I can go back to sleep by myself. Naruto looked rather nervous at this offer, but he saw the fear in Sakura's eyes. Sure, Sakura-chan, Naruto said as he kicked off his sandals and climbed into bed with Sakura. Good night Naruto, I love you, Sakura said as she lay facing Naruto. I love you too, Sakura-chan. Naruto said as he kissed Sakura's forehead, his lips surrounding the purple seal on her head. Good night. With a smile, Sakura turned her back to Naruto and got closer to him, letting his arms wrap around her and pull her closer to him. Naruto awoke the next day after having the best sleep in his entire life. When he looked down, Naruto saw that Sakura was still asleep. He looked at the clock and saw that it was still early in the morning. Don't have to be up for a few more hours. Might as well sleep in for once. Naruto thought as his eyes slowly started to close again. But just as Naruto was drifting off to sleep, a loud pounding at Sakura's front door woke both Sakura and him up. Naruto. I know you're in there, you asshole. Naruto ran to the balcony and looked for who was pounding at the door. When he looked, he spotted 3 people standing in front of Sakura's home. Karen, Suigetsu, and Jugo. Shit, he was on for a rough morning. One thought ran through Naruto's mind as he looked at Karen, Suigetsu, and Jugo. This is gonna suck. Naruto thought as he prepared to jump down. Naruto knew what to expect from Karen, because he had spent some time around her. But Suigetsu and Jugo were wild cards, he didn't know what to expect from them. Oi, what the hell do you think you're doing? I was sleeping, Naruto said as he rubbed the sleep out of his eyes. Instantly Karen's head snapped towards Naruto. You get down here right now. Karen yelled furiously as she gestured for Naruto to come down. Just then Sakura walked up behind Naruto. What the hell is going out here? Sakura said in an irritated tone. Then she looked down and spotted the remaining members of Team Taka. Oh hell, this is gonna get ugly, Sakura said as she placed her hand on Naruto's shoulder. You need me to come down there with you. Nah, you just go and keep your parents out of this. Naruto said as he gave Sakura a quick kiss, before he jumped down to the street. As soon as his feet hit the ground, he had to dodge a punch from Karen. Stay still, you bastard. Karen yelled as she tried to hit Naruto, but he easily dodged each one. Getting tired of dodging, Naruto grabbed Karen's fist, effectively stopping her assault. She tried to swing her other fist, but Naruto caught that one too. Are you done? Naruto asked in a bored tone. Karen just growled and tried to headbutt Naruto, but he just leaned back so that she completely missed. You good now? Naruto asked as noticed teardrops hitting the ground. Why did you kill Sasuke-kun? Karen yelled in Naruto's face. You want to know why I killed that bastard? Naruto asked just as upset as her. Yes, Karen yelled as she struggled against Naruto's grasp. I'll tell you if you calm down, and don't try to kill me. Naruto said as he started to loosen his grip. Karen thought for a minute before she took a deep breath and nodded. Naruto let Karen go, and started his explanation. You probably don't know what Sasuke planned to do, Naruto said as he took a deep breath. He planned to kill all the Kage, the Biju, and me. Why would he do that? Suigetsu asked as he walked up next to Karen. Yes, that doesn't make sense. Sasuke had given up on his revenge before we arrived on the battlefield. Jugo said as he stood on the other side of Karen. Sasuke believed that the Kage and the Biju were the cause of all the wars and violence between the elemental nations. He wanted to destroy and rebuild. Naruto explained, causing Jugo and Suigetsu to go wide-eyed. Karen however wasn't swayed and was still extremely upset. Then why couldn't you just talk him out of it? Karen said as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. Don't you think we tried? Naruto said in an annoyed tone. But the stupid Tem wouldn't listen. Naruto took a deep breath to calm himself before he explained the next part. However, the main reason I had to kill Sasuke was, Naruto paused and clenched his fists. Because he killed Sakura. Suigetsu gasped, and Jugo seemed mildly surprised. Karen was momentarily shaken, before she continued. But that pink-haired is still alive. Karen yelled as she gestured up to Sakura's room. Hearing someone insult Sakura caused something in Naruto to snap. Don't you ever talk about Sakura-chan like that again. Naruto yelled as he got in Karen's face. And for your information, the only reason she's alive is because of this. Naruto channeled chakra into his left eye and activated his Rinnegan. Seeing that Naruto had the Rinnegan made all 3 of them flinch in fear. I had to bring her back from the dead. Naruto yelled as he tried to calm his anger. Taking a deep breath he continued. You know you should be thanking me, because if it wasn't for me you'd still be in that damn genjutsu. But that doesn't make sense, that's not the Sasuke-kun I knew. Karen said as she started to cry. Naruto walked up to Karen and placed a hand on her shoulder. Karen, I know you loved Sasuke, but he didn't love you. Sasuke didn't love anyone, he wanted to isolate himself in darkness, Naruto said as he tried to comfort Karen. He would have sacrificed you in a heartbeat to advance his goal. And if I remember right, he did try and kill you once. Karen only sobbed more as Naruto brought up that painful memory. Why are you being so nice to me? Karen asked, but Naruto's response shocked her. Hey, family has to stick together, right? Naruto said with a grin. What do you mean, F family? Karen asked wide-eyed. Karen, what's your last name? Naruto asked as gave Karen a warm smile. It's Uzumaki, why? Karen asked not following. Well, you're looking at Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto said with extreme pride. You're an Uzumaki. Karen said as her eyes lit up. Yep, so we're family. Naruto said with a massive smile. Wow, I have family. Karen said with a smile as tears of joy fell from her eyes. She then grabbed Naruto and hugged him. I have a family. Naruto hugged her back, and let her cry into his shoulder. Karen, I know you're going through rough times now, but if you stay in the village I promise I'll help you through it, Naruto said as he looked Karen in her red eyes. Plus with your sensory abilities, and your healing powers you'd be a huge asset to the village. I'll even ask Sakura-chan to help train you in medical ninjutsu. Karen thought for a moment, she really didn't have anywhere else to go. Plus Naruto was right, she had family here and she could be of use. Okay Naruto, you got a deal. Karen said happily. Then Naruto turned to Suigetsu and Jugo. So what are you guys gonna do? Naruto asked. I guess I could head back to Kiri, and see if they'll let me back into the village. Suigetsu said with a shrug as he sipped his water. I still need to get my murderous temptations under control. So I'll try and find Orochimaru-sama and see if he can assist me. Jugo said in a monotone voice. Karen turned to her two Taka teammates. Well guys, I guess this is goodbye. I know we didn't always get along, but it was still fun. Karen said as she hugged Suigetsu and Jugo. You two be sure to come see me. Both of them nodded and started walking towards the village gates. Naruto then turned to Karen. Well, let's go tell Tsunade Bachan that you wanna enlist as a ninja, Naruto said as he turned to leave with Karen in tow. Oh, we'll also have to stop by my place real quick to pick a couple people up, then we'll go. As Naruto and Karen walked down the street, Sakura was watching from her balcony with a smile on her face. Naruto, is there anything you can't do? Sakura thought as she walked into her room to get ready, she had to meet Tsunade-sama too. She quickly dressed, and made herself some breakfast. As Sakura was about to run out the door, she was stopped by her mother. Wait, Sakura, before you go. I need to ask you something. Mebuyuki said as she walked up to her daughter. Sure mom, what's up? Sakura said in a confused voice. How do you know Kushina? She's been dead 17 years, and I know I didn't tell you about her. Mebuyuki said, worry evident in her eyes. Sakura took a deep breath, she might as well tell her. After we defeated Kagaya, Sasuke wanted to kill the Kage, and Naruto, Sakura said, causing Mebuyuki to gasp. I tried to talk him out of it, but he wouldn't listen. So he called me annoying, then he, killed me. Mebuyuki turned ghostly white when she heard this, and she looked like she was gonna pass out. Dead, Mebuyuki stammered out as she braced herself against the wall. Yeah, while I was dead, I met Kushina, and her husband Minato. We talked, and they helped me realize my feelings for Naruto. Sakura said as she thought back to her talk with Kushina. Then that means Naruto brought you back to life, Mebuyuki said to herself. Thank you Naruto, thank you for always protecting my little girl. Mebuyuki thought as a few tears fell from her eyes. Mom, it's alright, I'm fine now. Sakura said, trying to soothe her mother. No, it's not that, dear. Just thank Naruto for me, and be sure to give him all your love. Mebuyuki said as she wiped her tears. Sakura smiled and nodded before she ran out the door towards the Hokage tower. Mebuyuki smiled as she looked up. Kushina, even in death you're looking out for me and my family, thank you. Mebuyuki thought with a smile. 30 minutes later. After picking up Konan and Ryuuzetsu, and after explaining where he was all night, Naruto led the three kunoichi into the Hokage tower. When they reached Tsunade's door, Naruto reached out and knocked. After a few moments, Tsunade's voice echoed out, "Enter." Naruto opened the door and led the three kunoichi inside. "Ah, Naruto, what can I do for you?" Tsunade asked, happy to see her favorite knucklehead. "Well, Bachan, these three wanna enlist as Kohona shinobi," Naruto said, gesturing to Konan, Ryuuzetsu, and Karen. "Did they now?" Tsunade said as she leaned back in her chair. "Well, tell me your skills and your experience, and I will determine if you're capable to be shinobi. Because to be honest, we have lost very few shinobi in the war, thanks to Naruto, but we were already severely undermanned before the war even began." So Karen, Konan, and Ryuuzetsu all listed their former village, rank, skills, and experience. "Very interesting, you're all very qualified." Tsunade leaned forward and looked all three women in the eyes, looking for any hints of weakness. Seeing none, she leaned back in her chair. "All right, you're all in. Shizune, take them to fill out some paperwork, then give them their vests and headbands." Shizune nodded and led the three women out of the office. Naruto watched the three of them leave, and was about to walk out himself, but Tsunade stopped him. "Wait, Gaki, I still got more to tell you. Sakura, Kakashi, Yamato, and Team 9 should be here momentarily," Tsunade said just as there was a knock at the door. Yelling for the person to enter, the door opened to reveal everyone she had just mentioned. "All you come in here, I have some good news and some bad news." Everyone walked in and stood in front of Tsunade's desk. "Well, I'll tell you the good news first. As you all know, I'm getting old." This earned denial from everyone. "Ah, shut up and let me talk. I've lived a long life, and I've seen a lot of things. I've fought in 2 wars, and seen a lot of people close to me die." Taking a deep breath, Tsunade made her big announcement. "I decided I'm gonna step down, as Hokage." This earned gasps from everyone in the room. "So who's gonna take your place?" Naruto asked with hope in his eyes. "I've decided that Kakashi will be taking my place," Tsunade said, causing everyone's heads to snap towards the stunned man. "Me?" Kakashi said, utterly shocked he was picked, and Naruto wasn't. "Yes, Kakashi, you've got good skills in politics, and you're known around the shinobi world. Plus you're one of the strongest shinobi this village has to offer," Tsunade said as she turned to Naruto. "I know you're probably upset, Naruto, but you need to improve your political skills before you can be Hokage." Everyone turned to Naruto, who for a moment had a flash of disappointment in his eyes. But then he got a massive grin on his face. "I understand, Ba-chan, congratulations Kakashi-sensei," Naruto said as he smiled at his sensei. "Wow, he's taking this very well," Kakashi thought as he looked at his student. Tsunade smiled as she saw how well Naruto was taking the news. But then her expression changed to one of sadness as she looked at Team 9. "Team 9, Tsunade said, causing Neji, Tenten, and Lee to face her. "I have some bad news for you guys." "What is it, Tsunade-sama?" Neji asked, not liking the tone of Tsunade's voice. Guy can't be a shinobi anymore." This caused everyone's eyes to widen. "He suffered serious injuries to his spine, and he will be confined to a wheelchair for the rest of his life." Neji and Tenten's eyes fell to floor as they thought of their sensei. But Lee was nearly in tears, but then a look of determination spread across his face. "You guys, we cannot be sad. It is not what Guy-sensei would want. We cannot let our flames of youth die out. Now let's go visit Guy-sensei and give him our support." Lee's sudden declaration brought some life back into Neji and Tenten. With a cheer, Lee ran out the door with Neji and Tenten close behind, all three determined to help their sensei. "Well, that's bushy brows for you. He can make light of almost any situation," Naruto said with a smile. "Naruto, there's one more thing I need to discuss with you." Tsunade then looked at Kakashi, Yamato, and Sakura. In private. Getting the hint, the three left the room, and closed the door. But as Kakashi and Yamato walked down the hall, Sakura pressed her ear against the door. "Gaki, I know about you and Sakura," Tsunade said, causing Naruto to sweat bullets. "And I couldn't be happier," she said with a smile. Naruto let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. "But you know that you're the last Namikaze, and the last male Uzumaki," Tsunade said, confusing Naruto. "Yeah, of course I know that," Naruto said, not following Tsunade. Well, I was digging through some old files, and I came across something that can help you rebuild your clans. It's called the CRA, or Clan Restoration Act. It will allow you to take multiple wives. Tsunade said, causing Naruto to tense. Bachan, I don't want to force girls to marry me. Naruto said, taking a seat in front of Tsunade's desk. No, Naruto, we won't be forcing any girls, it will all be voluntary. And you'll be the one who chooses the girls. Tsunade said, causing Naruto ease up. Okay Ba-chan, I'll talk with Sakura about it. Naruto said with a smile, as he jumped out the open window. He needed to talk with someone. Jiraiya, that kid is gonna live out your perverted dreams. Tsunade thought with a sigh, as she remembered Jiraiya. Outside the door, Sakura stood thinking about what she just heard. She really didn't want to share Naruto, but she knew that other girls loved Naruto. So with a look of determination she dashed out of the tower. She had a plan to enact. Sakura never noticed Anko sitting just outside the open window Naruto jumped out of. So the Gaki is gonna be on the market. I like the sound of that. Anko thought as she licked her lips. Naruto landed outside the Hyuga estate. After what he just learned, he needed to talk with Hinata. He quickly walked up to one of the guards at the gate. Hi, I'm Naruto Uzumaki, and I'm here to see Hinata. Naruto said as he approached the gates. The guard eyed Naruto up and down, and motioned for Naruto to follow him. As they walked through the main house, the man pointed to a door down a hallway. That is her room at the end of the hall on the right. The man said before he returned to his post. Naruto thanked the man and started to walk down the hall. But just before he reached Hinata's door, someone grabbed him and pulled him into a side room. When Naruto spun to see who grabbed him, he was surprised to see Neji. Neji, what do you want? Naruto asked, slightly annoyed. Naruto, I need to talk with you about Tenten. Neji said as he motioned for Naruto to sit down. What about Tenten? Naruto asked, interested in what Neji had to say. I know about Tsunade-sama enacting the CRA for you. Neji said, shocking Naruto. How do you know about that already? Naruto asked, stunned that Neji already knew. We live in a ninja village, Naruto. Info travels remarkably fast. Neji explained as if it was obvious. Okay fine, I guess I can believe that, but what does this have to do with Tenten? Naruto asked, starting to catch on. I want you to give Tenten a chance, Neji said. As Naruto was about to object, Neji stopped him. I know you probably think she loves me, but I could never offer her the love she truly deserves. I've seen her give you these looks of great admiration, they're the same looks she gives me. Please Naruto, just think about it, I want Tenten to be happy. Naruto thought for a moment, and decided to give it a try. Sure, Neji, I'll give Tenten a chance. Naruto said with a smile. Thank you Naruto. Neji said as he shook Naruto's hand. Naruto exited the room and walked the rest of the way to Hinata's room. He knocked on her door. There was the sound of shuffling footsteps before the door opened. When Hinata opened the door, the last thing she expected to see was Naruto standing there. That's the end of part 1. Sakura's death has changed Naruto forever, and the world will feel the consequences. If you enjoyed this chapter, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Fox Fanfiction. Comment, Part 2 inches if you want to see Naruto's awakened power begin to reshape destiny.